What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video, and oh my god, is this sun bright. I'm trying to think what the last video I did on Archie's car was. I think where I left off, I was showing you guys how to like fill in patch panels and everything. Here it is now. I actually have it outside just because I looked on the weather and the next couple days we're gonna be like absolutely gorgeous. What I'm doing right now is I'm actually masking off everything. I took out the heater core and all of this stuff, all the brake lines, everything is completely stripped out of the engine bay and it's completely clean. What we're gonna be doing in today's video, we're actually gonna be like completely painting it. Basically the front end forward, you guys can see like, you know, how everything is stripped off. It's gonna be painted black. If you guys are familiar with E28s, you don't see this. The hood covers all of this up and the grills will be covering all of that stuff up. It's actually gonna be the same exact black as the E30. There's still some more body work I have to do, just a little bit. I just have to go down in there and sand that down and smooth that all out. I'm just gonna do like another coating of Bondo on that just to make sure it's all nice and smooth. Cut to a time lapse of me doing that right now. I'm gonna give you guys a brief interruption into the time lapse, but I wanted to show you something real quick. If you guys are doing any, well, almost like any body work, mainly like shaving an engine bay, don't worry about this stuff, like this thick goop. This is all gonna get sanded down. This is basically me just making sure this panel is completely flat and it's not wavy. So when I have it sanded and it's all glossy and it's all nice, like you don't see any waviness in it. You guys can see how thin it is. And like you can see how, you know, there's metal showing there, and then not so much right there, then some metal showing there, but that's basically just me filling in the waviness of the panel. Especially when it comes to shaving bays, you do not want a lot of Bondo. Your chassis is flexing a little bit, and you have heat, because the turbo and downpipe, it's gonna be sitting right here, so this is gonna get hot. Bondo does not do well with heat, so you want as little as possible, and when I sand that down, you're gonna be able to tell that there's some there, but it's gonna be like barely. Same goes for over here and over there. But that's just a tip. Back to the time lapse.
I just wanna let you know, I'm back. Queens is in the motherfucking building, man. What up, Mr. Baklava? We haven't seen you in a while. It's great to see that smile. Your hair looks wonderful. Let me push this chair up under you. The weather's beautiful. You must have brought the sun with you. You're getting slimmer and you're tanner, huh? And you're speaking perfect Spanish. Must have spent some...
I have most of everything ready to go. I had to scuff the whole front end here. Just took some Scotch-Brite, went and scuffed all of this up so it'll be ready for primer. But what I'm doing right now is I'm going and wiping over the whole thing with wax remover. I have to make sure there's no wax on this so I can go and lay down the primer. But before we lay down the high build primer, we need to lay down etching primer. If you guys aren't familiar with painting on bare metal, you always want to lay down self-etching primer. Instead of like a physical bond on the surface, it actually like corrodes the metal and it eats away at the metal, so it like gives it, it's like some like chemical bond to the metal, so regular primer can stick to it and Bondo can stick to it. I'm gonna get this wiped down and then I'm gonna spray some self-etching primer on it.
Cover my toes in, my fancy words keep me frozen. It's so easy being me, cause I'm that same OG. All I wanna do is blow my weed and stroke my queen and buy a fleet of blue boats for the...
I just had to run to Home Depot real quick because I ran out of my high build primer. So I got 4 cans of just this Rust-Oleum high build primer. This is fine. Actually, most of the high build primer will get sanded off. I'm gonna wanna leave a little bit of coating, then we're gonna do like after the high build primer, we're gonna do like a final like coating of like actual primer that the paint's gonna sit on. You guys can see I have all of this. I hope this comes up on camera. Looks hazy, so it's like, it's all scuffed up, so the paint will stick to it pretty well.
My BMW scraped the floor. You understand? My BMW. The side of my crib looking like Wrigley Field, covered with ivy. I could have been one of the...
Have a couple coats of primer on. Biggest parts about getting it all in primer is you can see everything is all in one color. So you can see imperfections a lot better and where I need to like sand a bit more and where I need to put some more Bondo. What I'm doing right now, before we have everything painted, actually just putting like bed liner, like truck liner in the inside of the wheel well. The engine bay isn't painted because I don't want to get overspray on the engine bay. I don't care if I get overspray on the engine bay right now because it's going to be like sanded off.
Always, man. Yo, listen, one more time. Yo. In front of 50,000 screaming higher than...
We have the E28 in the garage here. Now that it's in the garage lighting, you guys can see it much better. I'm going over everything, scuffing everything up to get it ready for a bit more Bondo. I'm just actually using the sanding pad. These are like very minorly abrasive. I hope you guys can see, you see how like there's this haze right here. This primer doesn't lay that well, so you basically just want to go over and knock down like the top. It's almost like sandpaper, how it is. Like that feels like sandpaper, then that feels smooth. You basically just come over and you knock it down, then it's nice and smooth.
The next day.
All right, what's going on, guys? It is actually a few days later. It's actually over the weekend. I'm back to working on the E28. I did a couple things off camera that I want to show you guys real quick. I finished up these corners in here. There's still a little bit of sanding I have to do. Everything is looking absolutely fantastic so far. This is what I want to show you guys. So you guys can see this paint is flaking up right here. This is because there wasn't any etching primer. I gotta sand this down, re-etch this primer, or like put some more etching primer on here, and then go ahead and put some more high build primer on that. I hope you can see me, but I have my wax and grease remover. This is pretty much the last spot that I'm gonna hit with self-etching primer. Just a dab will do ya. You don't want it too concentrated. I kind of like air it out a little bit. Just go along. Self-etching primer. When you spray this on, you don't want it thick at all. You actually just like kind of want like a real light dusting. Guys, so the last little bit of body work I have left before we paint, not really body work, but what I'm doing is, if you guys listen closely, you guys can hear how like gritty the primer is. Like especially like right here, you can hear how like rough that is. I'm taking a sanding block, no sandpaper. Like I said, this stuff does have a little bit of abrasiveness to it. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of slightly going over everything. You guys can hear it like, and then if you rub your hand over it, you can feel how much smoother it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I just got some supplies from Hovis, but we have our actual finishing primer. Even though it's still high build, this is just way better primer. We have our actual paint. This is the BMW paint code like 89, somewhere on there. Yeah, BMW 086 Schwartz paint code. And we have the 2K Glamour clear, and this has the epoxy like resin that you punch into the bottom. This is super expensive spray paint. Everybody always asks me, especially on Instagram, like, yo, how do you get that finished with spray paint? And I use this stuff. Dries super hard so you can wet sand it and buff it, and it literally looks like a mirror. So also this Spray Max place is made in Germany, so it's German paint going on a German car, so that's pretty cool. It's $180 for 4 cans of spray paint. Did some more sanding. Everything is like literally so smooth. Just gonna lay our final thing of primer down. We might do one more sanding thing. Final thing of primer, and then paint, and then maybe clear today. I would like to do the clear today if we have the time. All right guys, so we are doing the final scuff on the engine bay before the base. Oh, sorry. We're doing the final scuff on the engine bay before the base coat. You guys can see, it's like gritty, if you guys can see that. This is just overspray from the primer. Nothing to really worry about. It just kind of like wipes off. So you're gonna go in with the abrasive part of the sanding pad, and we're just gonna kind of go over it. It's kind of hard to do with one hand. You guys can see just a couple passovers and it's nice and smooth. So I have to do this over the whole entire thing. Just because like literally you can wipe it off with your hand, and obviously if you paint over that, paint's just gonna flake off. I already have this side done. It looks all like powdery because I still have to blow it off and wipe it off, but you guys can see how smooth this is. Like all through here, it's all so smooth. Everything's gonna turn out really nice and look really good. All right, guys, I now have everything prepped. I hope there's, clean that lens off. So I have everything prepped. I have everything wiped down. You should be ready to go. All right, this is the right can. Base coat, this is 1K. This has no special epoxy additive stuff in it. This is just regular paint. But it is super, super good paint. This is literally paint that an actual like professional painter would be putting into a spray gun, but the thing is, you just don't get the same velocity out of the can than you do a spray gun. So you do get orange peel, and that's why we do many coats and then we wet sand. This is gonna be our first coat of base coat. We're gonna go super light, basically just dusting, and we're gonna pay attention to like the small areas that we can forget. Basically like in the little cracks that it's hard to see and it's really easy to miss. We wanna pay attention to that right now just so we get a good base coat over everything. Nice and even coats, try not to get any runs, try not to build anything up too heavy. All right guys, so far I am 3 cans in. I may need to go run and get another can, but everything's looking good so far. If you guys are doing this, do not be particular on how the finish looks. Obviously you want it to look good, but don't be like, oh, I need the finish to be absolutely perfect, because you can see like there's no clear coat in it. It's super hazy. Basically, you're just looking for an even finish. This doesn't look that even right now because it's still drying. Like this is more dry than there, but everything has pretty much an even finish on it. All right, guys, I let the paint sit overnight. Here it is in all of its glory. You guys can see there's still some areas I have to go over, so probably do one more nice light even coat over everything, and then we are going to clear, and hopefully rain holds off because I have the E30 sitting outside. Oh my goodness, god dang. I have bags over the ITBs, so nothing falls in there. Hopefully it doesn't rain, because if it rains I have to pull the E30 back inside. All right, we have the final coat down. Everything is looking fantastic. Everything is nice and even, looking good. We are moving on to the clear coat. Clear coat is like an epoxy resin clear coat or whatever from the same Spray Max company. And it has this little thing on the bottom. Pop this thing out right here, and you put it down like that, and you turn it upside down. Then you basically just put your full, sometimes it's hard to do, just there, it's popped. There's a little diaphragm in there that there's a plunger, and it goes in and it punctures it, and you shake it up for a little bit. Probably gonna shake this for about 5 minutes. Let that epoxy mix around. Meanwhile, I'm gonna look at the E30 because it is looking absolutely fantastic. Look at that thing. Alright guys, we have 3 coats of clear coat on this Johnny and we are looking fantastic. Yeah, so you guys can see there's some little imperfections, like those are bubbles in the paint. They just kind of like bubble up and stuff like that. They aren't fish eyes, they're just small tiny little bubbles. But it looks pretty good. All of that will completely be taken out with wet sanding. Super happy with it. It's gonna look absolutely fantastic. Fortunately now it's like 1 o'clock. So I have to let this thing dry overnight. I'm gonna set some heaters up in my garage, get this place at like 80 degrees overnight. Just let this thing absolutely bake, let it sit, and then we're gonna do 1,000 grit sandpaper, 2,000 grit sandpaper, 3,000 grit sandpaper, and then buffing compound. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I don't even know what day it is now, but we have the paint drying. Oh my God. You guys can see the paint settled a lot. Right now we are going to be wet sanding, so I went to Hovis again for the 3rd day in a row. Those boys down there are really starting to know me. We got wet sanding equipment. We got 1,200 grit sandpaper, 2,000 grit sandpaper, and then heavy buffing compound, medium buffing compound. We got some fine buffing compound. And then we also have this little thing. If you guys don't have a small orbital buffer, like a 1-inch or 2-inch orbital buffer to get into engine bays, get the headlight refresh thingy, and then I put it on this, and then I just use my air compressor. Then it turned out super good. That's what I did for the E30, and it worked super well. I guess the only thing to do is to just get to wet sanding. Basically what you're trying to do is you guys are gonna be able to feel it. I can't necessarily show you on camera, but you're gonna be able to feel the sandpaper like dig in, and then you're gonna like feel it remove material and like imperfections, and then when it gets smooth, you don't feel it. That's how you know you reached a limit on your grit. I'm just gonna start out right here. Spray some soapy water, spray some water on our thingamadingy. I'm just gonna get to town. Like you'll feel the effort get a lot easier in an area, and that's how you know you covered that area well. And those little bumps, like if you feel the areas that didn't wet sand, you can feel them with your hand. Over the areas that I did wet sand, you can't feel them at all. So like those little bumps in there will get completely taken out. I'm moving on to 2,000 grit right now. Same thing applies for this. We're just gonna go around, spray. You're gonna be able to feel the thing dig in, and then you're gonna get to a certain point that everything feels even, and that's how you know you're done with your 2,000, then you move on to different spots. Alright guys, I got everything wet sanded, and as you can see, it looks like complete poop. But all of this will come out with the buffing. In this headlight kit, you get one of these pads. It's like the super soft pad. I'm gonna save this for our last, for our final cut. And then right now, I have aggressive, I guess this is like a 5,000 grit or something like that on here. And then I'm putting the aggressive cutting compound, diamond cut compound 2.0. Ooh. We have all the buffing done. So now we are going to go to our fine cutting compound. It's a couple days later because I forgot to film the outro to this video. I'm in the middle of editing it and I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to like close the video up and show you guys how the engine bay looks. But it looks fucking pretty good. Guys, look at this. Oh my goodness. It's a little bit dusty from sitting in the garage, but damn, does that look good. I'm so happy with how this turned out. I threw the radiator in just to like see how it all looks together. Paint came out excellent. I'm super happy with this. It's gonna look absolutely killer. I hope Archie is happy with how it comes out. That's pretty much how I paint engine bays. A lot of people slid into my DMs and they're like, are you doing this? How are you painting engine bays? Blah, 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 blah. Like, are you using rattle cans? So I'm like, I'm gonna make a YouTube video showing you guys how I do it. If you guys have any questions, just shoot me a DM on my Instagram. I'll be happy to answer anything. S54 E30 is just looking absolutely so good. Oh my God. What? Dude, these two cars together, so sick, so sick. Like, I have the toughest garage in Pittsburgh right now. I'm pretty sure. That being said, guys, as I always say, dream so big it's scary. Peace out, and I'll catch you in the next one.